力训练也是一种修行。接下来的练习，你只可以看到单词和短句的提示，你必须用自己的耳朵听明白整段话的意思。如果没有听懂，你可以反复多听几遍。下面我们开始吧。
A flood of material related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has been released by the U.S. Department of Justice, and even more may be coming. For more on the release and the reactions to it, let's bring in journalist Steve Futterman joining us this morning from Los Angeles. Nice to see you, Steve. Let's talk about what we learned from yesterday's release.
Well, Marianne, depends who you talk to. We didn't really learn that much. Lots of documents were released, but many of them had been released before. Lots of pictures in this initial release. Let's take a look at some of them. There were a number of pictures of Bill Clinton. There's one in a pool, one in a jacuzzi, a number of pictures of Clinton, but also a number of other well-known people, personalities, Prince Andrew, Mick Jagger, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross. So lots of pictures, and of course, lots of pictures of Jeffrey Epstein. There were some pictures of young women. Most of those were blacked out. However, apparently there were some videos that do show some young women in without being blocked out. So that might be something that comes up a bit later.
Volunteer position, curious there, to make Greenland a part of the U.S. So, Eric, that's as bold and as direct a statement as one could make. Greenland a part of the U.S. To that you say what?
Well, I think the president is moving full speed ahead. And look, what we're seeing, how the president is moving as it relates to Greenland is no different with how the president is also responding to Canada. The president made clear when he was elected that he would engage in economic warfare to make Canada a state. What we saw, at least when it comes to Greenland, is that the president is willing to enact military force to annex Greenland. But we have to remember, Denmark is actually a part of NATO. So it's unclear how far the president is prepared to move. But this appointment, because we have to remember, the president can appoint a special envoy without having to go to Congress. And so I think what we're seeing here is not only is this an end runaround for the president to move independently of the normal checks and balances, but when you look at what's taking place in Venezuela, when you look at how the president has engaged with Canada, this is par for the course for what we're seeing from this administration, and that it is moving full speed ahead, and it's doing so in an autocratic way that clearly breaks the norms and the respects of those checks and balances.
So, Steve, what has the reaction been from U.S. lawmakers?
Well, many of them are very, very upset, and they basically say, listen, you were told you had to have these documents released by midnight last night. You were clearly told that. There were no exceptions, no bits of wiggle room there, and you didn't release them. The Justice Department has basically said that they have the right to do lots of redacting. Another issue is the redacting. We can take a look at some pictures here. You can see lots of blackouts in pages. In fact, there are hundreds of pages which are completely blacked out, much of that from grand jury testimony. Let's take a listen to some of the lawmakers who are very upset with the amount of documents, the lack of the amount of documents being released.
It is disappointing that they haven't been able to release these documents on time in compliance with the law. While it's clear they're trying at the very least to meet the deadline, they should have been able to do more.
People in Canada will be concerned at hearing this, Eric, of course, because there's been so much rhetoric around Canada becoming the 51st state. So if they can send an envoy to Denmark, should we expect to see similar posturing and moves in Canada?
Well, I think that will probably play out, and we'll see more of that, I think, as it relates to the negotiations around Kuzma in terms of how the president will move. I think if, in fact, the United States does pull out of the Kuzma agreement, I think that will give a clear indication where the president is going with similar moves to what we're seeing in Venezuela and, of course, Greenland in terms of how the president will look at Canada as well. But I think right now this should send a massive chill down the spine of all Americans in terms of what we're seeing here right now.
These are truly unbelievable times that we're in, Eric.
两段听力练习，没有听明白的朋友可以反复多听几遍。如果有需要这一段英文文字的内容，可以在评论区留言。在点点滴滴中提升自己的英文听力。 英语听力练习是一场修行。那么今天视频的内容就到这里了，我们下期见。